So it's September right now, and my garden is pure chaos. Half of it's thriving and overgrown, like these blackberries here, and the other half has just lost all will to live. But here in the Houston metro area, zone 9A, it's still hot. And that means I am in my chaos era of gardening this time of year. And then I thought, why not bring y'all along and let y'all see the chaos and how I actually work through it and transform my garden and prep it for fall planting. I think this is a really relatable perspective of gardening. I think a lot of times on YouTube, gardeners either they have a whole team of people that make their garden look prim and just perfect. And then you have the other group that just don't show the not so pretty part of it. But you know what, y'all? I always said I would be real with y'all. I'm going to show y'all firsthand. I have weeds, I have pests. It's just part of the process. And it doesn't make you a bad gardener. It's just life. I am going to break up all the things I'm going to be doing in 4 phases. The first is going to be the cleaning phase. And this is where I'm going to harvest anything I need to harvest, prune, pull up anything I need to pull, like weeds, and there's plenty of those. So the next phase is the inspect phase. And quite frankly, you can do this at the same time as you're doing the cleaning phase. This is literally where I am inspecting my garden for any pest pressure or pest buildup, disease. I'm also going to be checking to make sure my drip line is still working properly, and then react appropriately. The third stage is going to be the replenish stage. So this is where I'm going to be replenishing the soil in my beds as things grow. They deplete the soil of nutrients, and so we're going to put nutrients back into the soil. I'll show you how to do that. The final phase is going to be the planting phase. Now I brought y'all along as I started my fall seeds, link below if you haven't checked out that video. Make sure you do. Now, a lot of those plants still aren't ready, and quite frankly, it's still too hot for a lot of the cooler season crops at this point in the season. However, there are a few I might test bringing out a little early, like a few of my tomatoes and my peppers. However, what I'm really focused on is direct sowing anything that I'm direct sowing. So meaning I'm not starting the seeds inside. So things like my root crops, like my carrots, beets, radishes. Also, I'm gonna be planting some spinach and lettuce. And so with that, we got a lot to do. So let's go. So this is my pepper bed, y'all, and I have had a vigorous pepper year. However, the plants are starting to get too tall and leggy to the point where each plant can't really sustain itself properly. And so as a result, a lot of the peppers have gotten, even though they're putting out, they're starting to produce smaller, less quality fruits, and that lets me know the plants are in need of a pruning. So I'm going to prune back pretty aggressively and just give the plant a bit of a reset button as they grow throughout fall. So a few rules of thumb when trying to figure out what exactly to prune on a plant. So for me, I always like to prune away any leaves or branches that are touching the ground to encourage airflow. I also will prune away any branches that are crossing over one another, as well as any branches that just appear to be weighing the plant down. And then obviously you want to prune away any parts of the plant that maybe look sickly or diseased diseased. When I'm pruning, I always make it a point to prune just above a node, and this is an example of a node. And what this does is it encourages branching and produces just an overall fuller, more robust plant. So I've gotten questions about how I water my plants. Now, most of my raised beds are actually connected to a drip line that I installed myself. And so that I'm not out there manually watering every time I need a water, I use a timer, but I'm upgrading my timer to a 2-zone timer. And this will allow me to not only have my drip irrigation hooked up, but it also has space if I need to connect my hose to do any hand watering. This one is from Rain Point. Setup was actually really easy. It's very similar to the other one I had previously. You simply set the actual, like the clock, so the time. Next, you're just going to turn this dial to set the time you want the timer to start. Just paying attention that you are setting the correct zone. Again, this is 2 zones, so either zone 1 or zone 2. And then you're going to turn the dial again to indicate the duration of the timer. And then lastly, you're going to indicate how often you want the timer to start. Now, if you're not trying to use like the timer and you just want to use the hose manually, you would just hold and press this manual button and then set the time for how long you want to be able to use the hose manually. Having a timer set up to water your plants is a huge game changer, especially if you work full-time like me or you just have life. Sometimes watering your plants isn't always top of mind. And that's all right. I am never going back, especially like during the heat of the summer. It makes everything just so much easier and convenient. So I highly recommend. I'll leave a link below to this one. Again, it's from Rain Point. But if you have any type of irrigation setup, get yourself a timer. You will thank me later. And if you want me to do a video just all about my irrigation and my setup, let me know in the comments below and I will do so. Enemy number 1 in my garden are hands down the leaf-footed bugs. They are very prevalent this time of year. They're a real pain because unlike a lot of pests that have somewhat decency, they stick to like a family of plants they like. Leaf-footed bugs eat pretty much any and everything. As you're inspecting your garden, it's really important to know what they look like at the different stages of life. So these are examples of what their eggs look like. This is what they look like in the nymph stage, and this is them in their adult phase. I have found the most effective and simplest way to treat for them is simply spraying them with soap and water. All I do is use a spray bottle, I fill it with water and about a tablespoon of Castile soap. If you're not a stickler about being organic, you can also use something like Dawn, or any other dish detergent. This works fabulously and works on a wide range of pests in the garden. And best of all, it is cheap. When inspecting my drip line, I noticed that one of the lines had the plug busted, so I'm going to replace that. Luckily, I always keep spare parts, so that should be easy. So my sweet potatoes have pretty much taken over one whole side of my garden. And as I was going through this jungle, I noticed that the vines have started to root into the floor of my garden. And there's actually sweet potatoes that looked ready to harvest. Like they were actually pretty big. Here's one here. And I am all for it. Sometimes chaos is a good thing. So for any of my beds, and I'm pretty much starting from scratch in terms of planting, I like to top them all off with a layer of topsoil, compost, vermiculite, and a slow release organic fertilizer. I like using topsoil because topsoil, well, it's soil, which is full of tons of microorganisms. And then soil, just in terms of its overall makeup, is comprised mostly of clay, sand, and silt, which are all inorganic materials. This means it will help mitigate the rate of erosion you experience within your beds, as opposed to compost, which is 100% organic matter, which is full of nutrients and microbes and just goodness. And vermiculite is my special ingredient because it helps with aeration, drainage, as well as moisture retention. And then lastly, we top it off with an organic slow release fertilizer. For any existing plants that are going to carry forward into the fall, so for example, like my peppers, I like to top them off with a layer of slow release organic fertilizer. You also can top them off with a layer of compost. However, you want to make sure that whatever you're topping them off with, you have it come in direct contact with the soil. So that means pushing back any mulch. This is because it's the microbes and microorganisms in the soil that actually break down the fertilizer and compost to make the nutrients readily available to your plants. And then you're just going to cover it back up with mulch and water in. So there's been a change of plans, as it usually is when it comes to gardening. A lot of the things I had mapped out in terms of where I'm going to plant where, I'm going to have to adjust because a lot of the things that I have planted are still putting out, specifically my summer crops. And so I'm not quite ready to pull them up, like my peanuts, my peppers, okra, and a few other things. So I'm gonna have to shift kind of where I plant things around. So if you did see that video and you're like, girl, that is why. For my heavy feeders like my tomatoes, I have a special concoction I like to mix in the planting hole. This is absolutely optional, so do not feel like you have to do this to plant your tomatoes and to be successful. You can absolutely just use a well-balanced, slow-release organic fertilizer. However, I used this mix this past spring for my tomatoes and peppers, and I had the most prolific tomato and pepper year. So I think moving forward, this is just like my go-to like secret sauce. It's comprised of worm castings, which is full of microbes and micronutrients, blood meal, which is high in nitrogen, which is very important for developing green growth and helping the plant photosynthesize. And then the bone meal is really good for adding phosphorus and calcium. So phosphorus is going to help with root development and encourage flowering and then fruiting. And then tomatoes can be susceptible to something called blossom end rot, and the calcium will help mitigate this. And then I add a bit of a well-balanced fertilizer just to make sure it has all the things. But again, this is optional. If you're just starting out, like, you are absolutely okay to just use a slow-release organic well-balanced fertilizer. It'll be just fine. You know it's hot when I had to bust out the hat, but I hope this provided a realistic view of what the average suburban garden looks like for someone who works full time and is doing this all by themselves. It's not perfect, it's a little bit of chaos, and that's okay. That's part of the process. I know sometimes it can be just so discouraging to see people maybe here on YouTube where their garden looks picture perfect and there's no weeds, virtually no pests, and it's just thriving. And quite frankly, I don't think that's realistic for the average person. A lot of times those people are either doing that full time, so they have the time to make it look perfect. They have a team of people helping them make it look that way, or they're just not showing you the ugly stuff. Like I said, this was just the fall prep, and I still haven't finished the prep, but I did probably about 85% of it and just a bit of the planting. But I will be sure to bring y'all along as I do my more extensive fall planting from all my cool season crops, any like trees I'm gonna be planting, and so on and so on. But until next time, y'all already know the deal. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And remember, every black thumb ripens to green, and it all just starts with a seed.